Since we are not writing, so we don't need commit. Data is equal to cursor dot fetch all. And once we have the data, so we can close the connection and then we can start creating the books. Books is equal to an empty list, right? And here for book in data, this is going to be returning a list of tuples, which we are going to create a book record with. Books dot append. I'm going to create a book record, right? So book record takes title. So let us modify this book model a bit. So this doesn't have an ID. Let me also take the ID, title, author, total copies, available copies, created by, and bought on. So these are the things that we want. All right. Book model. So before that, right. So let me comment these things. Let us see what is the order that it is getting the data in. And let me just print book. So it is going to be a list of tuples. So let me just call that API. Okay, so do we have that API and then calling this function? So all right, so let's list books. Book model dot get books. So I'm just going to use same thing. So if I'm going to, okay, this is going to be a problem because no, right, it is not going to be a problem. Books slash list. Okay, so somehow seems like my server has stopped. Let me check. Did it stop? Yeah, it did. Why did it stop? Okay. Right, so I'm going to start this again. All right, so okay, so this is how the data is. This is how the data is. So first is ID, then the title, then the author, then available copies, total copies, available copies, created on, and then lastly created by. Right, let me just copy this and then go here. Right, the book model. And so I know this is how the data is going to be. Why, what happened? Right, so the first one is ID. So which is book of 0 is going to be the ID in that index, right? Then book of 2 is going to be the title, sorry, 1. Then third one is author. We are just going by how we have defined in our constructor, right? And then we have the total copies. Then we have the available copies. And then we have created by, right? Created by, and then lastly bought on. So created by is actually the last value, so which is going to be 6, and created on is going to be 5, bought on. So this is what is my book, and I am going to return that object. And eventually return this books, right? Okay, all right, I think this looks good. Now add book only, like, right? Okay, so all right. So in the home itself, what we will do, let's not have a separate list books API. So in the home API itself, we will use this. Right, so let this be here. Let me go back to the home API. So which is this books, and this is going to pass that books data to this. And in the home.html, what we will do, right, let's go back to the home.html. We are going to have a table just to populate the data. Div, I'm going to add this table, right, and I'm going to have a head td. Let's go with the td itself. Okay, so what do I have? ID of the book, ID of the book, followed by title of the book, then author, then who do we have? Total copies, available copies, and then created by got on. So let us go back and see, like, this. Okay, we need to still get the borders right. So let me work on the border thing. Do I have a style tag? No. .tr .td tr std. Okay, so it is getting the borders, but not. So I have added for trtd, so I'll add it for table. So let me just do that. Which is what we did, right? Table thtd. And so what we will do, so we want something like this, right? And we say border collapse. So we will do that. Table trtd th. One moment, I think this is the correct thing. Let's go back to the browser, see how this looks like. Okay, this looks good. Now we will try to add the rows into that. So every row is going to be the body, which will have. Now what we will do for book in books, if I open a for, we have to ensure we'll end the for. Done. So in between, what I want to add is the tr, the table row, and a td in it. So first is book.id, book.title, book.author, book.copies, book.available copies, and book.created by, and lastly book dot created on. Okay, now let us see if that data renders. Okay, so it is rendering, but if you see, right, it is rendering the same way, right? I want to replace a Python code here. What is the mistake that I have done? So if we want the Python variable to be replaced properly, we have to use a double flower brackets, yes or no? This is the Python code. I want this to be replaced properly with the valid string. Okay, let us reload. Okay, so we are getting, but ultimately ID is not showing up, right? So bottom, the date is not showing up and the ID is not showing up. So let us see what is the problem. So we are getting the ID. So are we at the time of get books? Let us see, are we actually creating the ID? So yeah, right. So we are passing book of 0, which is the ID. And let me do one thing, go back to the app and print books first. Right. All right, let us reload. What happened? So we are getting the book model, right? And there is an ID for it. Now let me just see what is coming. Right. Book object, book model has no attribute ID. Why? Okay, so we have created ID, but ultimately we don't have ID field itself, right? So we did not add. That is the reason it was not coming. So, well, now I'm getting ID. Um, the title, the author name, total copies, available copies created by, yes, and the bot on is not coming. The bot on is not coming. So what can we do? So let me just check from the code if I'm actually having a bot on here. Right. So right. So where is my app.py? Book dot. Let me see if I am able to get the bottom. So I'm able to get this. So what I'm going to do here, right? So there are two ways. One, I have to format the date. I have to format that date, right? Or, right? Or I will use certain filter, Jinja specific filter, which converts date to a specific string. So it has a strf time, so which basically converts it into whatever we are seeing here, right? Visually. So this should take care of it. Okay, strf time, Jinja, no filter named strf. There was a filter. All right. So what is the date filter? There was a filter as strf time. Okay, let me just check. Thing we had. There were a couple of filters actually. So this also format doesn't come. Date time, Jinja 2. All right, so you can always use a datetime module or you can just use a filter. So there will be filters for sure. We'll just use that filter. So this is one format. No, there should be a filter, man. Okay. I don't know. Let me just check to date. Is there a filter like that? Okay, so these are not coming anyways. Yes, percentage y hyphen d hyphen percentage m. Let us see if this works, and then I'll probably tell the filter that can be applied. Okay, so didn't I close it? Yeah, I closed it twice. Undefined book object has no attribute created on. What is the column name? It's a bought on, not created on. That is why it was not coming. Wonderful. Okay, so we are good. So we got the date, right? We're able to list. Now let us see, like, let us just add another book. Um, Author name, Monk, and 10 copies we select. Let me just say 15 copies and then submit. So this redirects, right? Did we get the entry?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? So this is how you list. Now what you can do right now, clicking on this should actually redirect it to a page where we can edit it, a page where we can edit it, right? So we'll just go ahead and try to provide a link to it. We'll just go ahead and try to provide a link to it. So what in the study, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add anchor tag, okay, where href is equal to slash book slash. I'm going to place the ID there slash edit. So this book ID will be replaced there so that we can ensure to edit that. So we can edit that. Just keep this. Okay, let me just see if this actually replaces. Yeah, I'm going to replace this anchor tag, close the anchor tag. Right, let me just see. Okay, let me check in the HTML. Does it have a proper, okay, book 3 edit, right? If you see book 3 edit, and this will have book 4 edit. Now what happens is that if I click on it, right? So this will go to this URL. Book 3 edit. Now this is going to be my dynamic ID. This is going to be my dynamic ID. So based on which we will try to edit the author name or the title or the number of copies, whatever, right? Like we'll try to edit that. Okay. I'll add the same thing for the title as well. Either I can click on title or the ID. I should be able to edit it. Okay. So now if you see, now there is a link. I can click on it and that goes to edit. Now let me just go and create a edit. So add book HTML itself we'll use, right? But rather we'll fill the data. Rather we'll fill the data. So or else let me have a separate HTML. So for that, copy it and I'm going to just have a edit book HTML. Edit book. And this is going to be the ID of the book. And submit it. Okay, hold on. Um, Edit book, and then from there we'll pick the ID. Yeah, not necessary. So this will edit book will be the route. And to load this, and what I'm going to do here, value, I'm going to, so when we edit, right, we want to place our, I know I'm going to edit it, which means I want to place my values also there. I want to place my values also there. Okay, so what we are going to do, right, and then submit, this is going to submit to this, and let me just create a new route. Where is my app.py? Right. So this edit slash, this is how we take the dynamic URL, right? We have seen this in probably second or third day, and whatever we have given, that will be passed as a parameter here. Now get book by ID. So I need to write a query now to say get book by ID. Right, let us go back to this books where ID is equal to 3. And I don't want everything. What we want is a title, name, title, author, and these are the only fields that will allow to edit. Let us see if this works. Yes, the query looks good. And let me go back to this. Get book by ID is equal to, yes, so the ID is going to be replaced. And let me import this in the book model. I'm going to write a function at the rate edit. I'm going to create a, and this is going to be a static method, or rather a class method. Get book by ID, and it is going to take a parameter as ID and return the book. If, okay, db connection dot get connection on is equal to, right, right. So what do we want? So at the time of creation, so it is expecting all other things. So I'm going to say equal to 0. I'm assigning certain default values because here I'm going to get only very few data. So, or else rather than 0, none is the right same way. I'm not passing anything. 0 is actually value, but let us say none, which means nothing is passed here. Right. Get book by ID connection, then I'll get my cursor. Cursor done. Cursor dot execute get book by ID. So we have to import this get book by ID first. Yes, we did import, done. And I have to pass the ID. Right. So data is equal to cursor dot. I don't want all. we want to say this is going to return only 1 because of the ID filter, right? I am going to filter. If data, the ID can be correct or wrong. If data, return, let's make a book class object and send the book to the edit page. Let me call it as a book, and then if book, so this is not going to be everything. So this is just going to be ID, book of 1, 2, 3, and remaining we don't have that data. Return, render. Okay, so we are just going to return data. Return B, none, and then whatever is that, we are going to return that book. Okay, and then at the end, before returning, what should we do? Cursor dot close, connection dot close, and done. So we can return. Right, so let us see. Book3 dot edit in the app.py, we still have not done edit ID list. Edit book, and this is going to pass an ID. Get book by ID, return, render template, edit book.html. Right, now let us see. Okay, what is the problem here? We have added the new route, right? So login required edit book ID. Does not exist. Okay, hold on a second. Dynamic URL. So can you just check your old references? How to add a dynamic URL? How do we add a dynamic URL? Right, so this is the same thing. So first we will say int and then we'll say ID. Right, so this is the dynamic URL. So ID, which is going to be an integer. So let us try. Okay, what is the problem? Is our server up or not? It is up. Okay, so it is edit, right? Edit list. So let me just go back to the home HTML. It is book/edit. Okay, let us go with the same thing. Let's go back to the app. Book/id/edit. Okay, so book get by book ID missing one required parameter ID. So I did not pass ID. Let me just pass ID here. Right. So here in the edit.html, I'm going to edit slash book is books, whatever that has come out. Right. So tuple index out of range. Why is that? Which is the function? So get book by ID is 0. So where is my 0, 1, 2? It should be 0, 1, 2, not 1, 2, 1, 3. It is the title is 0, 1 is author, 2 is the books. Okay. Now here I'm editing this book. So which means I want to fill this data ahead, right? I want to fill this data. So that is where we'll just use the edit book. All right. So this is where we are going to fill our data. Book slash total copies. And book slash author, book slash book dot title. So what happens is that it is filling that data for us ahead. So if I just say I'm going to edit a 4, right, it is pre-filling the data for us. See, when you are trying to edit on any website, this is how it pre-fills the data for you, right? Yes or
Yes,
no?
sir.
Right, that is what we are trying to do here as well. So we are pre-filling the data. We are pre-filling the data because it is an edit. And after that, you can submit by changing something and that should reflect. Now that update query, edit, update query, you guys have to do it. Right? So you have to submit here and you can also have the ID. Right? Okay, so how are you going to submit is the question, right? You can submit and then that should update only that record. It should not, it is not going to insert, it is going to update only that record. Can we do it? It is your assignment for tomorrow. You have to update the record. You have to update the record. Am I clear? Right, I just click on it. It just pre-fills the data for us already. Right? See, if I click on add book, it is going to be a fresh book. Nothing gets pre-filled. Okay, because it is a fresh thing. But if I click on edit, right, it is going to pre-fill the data for us. My ID is passed here in the URL. We are taking that as a ID from the URL, right? And then getting that respective data and pre-filling it. Are we clear?